Hey, what's going on, guys? Tyler here, and today I am going to be going over a hand history that actually just happened yesterday. I finished second in the Loncar Mega Stack for around $5,500, and just last week I did a video where I got seventh in that same exact tournament. This one actually had 623 runners. It's an $88 buy-in, 50K guaranteed. And I just wanted to go over the last 200 hands of the tournament. So basically, I was going to do all the ones that I V-pipped, and that way we could just see the hands that I played. But I decided that, there's spots at the final table where I was really tight and I folded. And even two tables left, 3 tables left, whatever. There's spots I may have made tight folds. So I just want to watch the last 200 hands. Obviously, any hand that I don't play, I'm probably just going to skip over. So yeah, I think we should just get right into it, and we can maybe pull up ICMizer or launch the equity range calculator on Poker Tracker as we review the hands. But feel free to leave comments in the comment section. AFA, aka Chris O'Neill, he did that last time, and I think he left 18 comments. So he just, as he was watching hands, he just left notes. Would appreciate it if you guys, did something like that too, to let me know how you think I played a hand, how you would play it, etc. Because the whole point of me doing these videos is so I can improve by watching myself play and thinking about, how I want to play these spots in the future, what mistakes am I making, and then also allow you guys to comment on that and give your own take, and just, you learn by putting your thoughts on paper, I feel like. So if you get your comment out there, you start typing it, you start giving your opinion, you'll probably learn something as well. So without further ado, these are the last 200 hands of the tournament. We will watch this first hand because it's kind of funny that the last 200 hands, this hand is involved in there. So Justice rolls open. He opens under the gun. Then he checks a King 4-6 flop. He check calls. He checks again. Matt Stye checks back. Justice rolls, bets 10 bigs. Matt Stye goes all in. Matt Stye is the one who ended up winning this tournament. He actually had the worst shark scope out of everybody left with 3 tables. I don't think he's capable of having a bluff here. So you just have to kind of hope he has King Jack if your Justice rolls. It is so weird that he ended up having Ace-6 of diamonds, so Justice rolls it down to 8 bigs. Very next hand, we get Ace-King in the small blind here. We decide to play a trap versus the big blind, just because there are a lot of hands that the big blind could go all in with, and then we get to re-ISO, which is exactly what happens, so it's perfect. So now we jam, and we lose to A7. This was a very significant hand for the reason coming up in a second. Here we open. We just get the C-bet. We check behind. We don't get... I think we need to go small on this river. This was a mistake. I think, I don't have enough bluffs here. I mean, I could have King Queen, Queen Jack, King Jack, Jack 9. I just don't think I would be bluffing those personally. This is why that Ace-7-0 was significant. So now, obviously, Justice rolls is going to be super strong here. These 3 bets, 3x off of these stack sizes, they're never folding. They're never ever folding. If they have Ace-Queen, they're just ripping it in. If they have Ace-King, they're ripping it in. This is always queens and kings and aces. But that being said, I have Ace-King. I can't just fold Ace-King. I have to go with it. Or else I'm going to be exploited in the long run. Although I do think these, like I said, this is super strong. I don't even think it's jacks. I think it's queens, kings, maybe Ace-King, but I doubt it. It's definitely just queens most of the time here. Queens, kings, and aces. But anyway, so he... but like I said, we can't fold. We're going to be exploited if we fold, so we're not folding Ace-King. We get it in, and we brick. So now, instead of just losing the 22 big blind pot to him and losing the 7 bigs that we had in there, Now we just lost a 50 big blind pot to him, which is very, very significant. Alright, so here we open. Here, I bet bigger. I'm actually done with the hand. Like, I know it sounds ridiculous, but, I mean, if I get raised, I'm done with the hand. That part's not ridiculous. But if I get, like, called, and then, you know, like, a really bad turn happens. Sorry for that, just press the random key. Like, if a really bad turn happens, like a jack, a queen, whatever, any club, like an 8, it's all bad. So I think, like, I want to go big and just get it in with the big if I can. I don't really know how I feel about everyone else's range, but ace king is a very scary on a king 9-10 board. In that's particular scenario. Here we just 3-bet. Here, this is a weird hand. So here I have like a limp strategy, first of all. So I limp like 100% of my hands. It allows me to play more hands post flop, so that I'm not just getting abused like blind versus blind. You know, I have limp raises that are bluffs. I have limp calls, limp folds. So I'm not worried about it. Like having if people say I should raise ace queen here. No, not with my strategy that I currently play with. So anyway, once he checks back flop, I think we have a very easy bet, because a lot of times, you know, if he had a 9, a 6, maybe even a 4, he would just bet here to protect his hand. If he had a flush draw, he would probably bet to protect his, or to just go ahead and get immediate folds out. So he calls. River's a heart. I think, like, you know, we probably have a heart advantage here in terms of like the nut hearts, like the king of hearts, ace of hearts, because a lot of his good king x, ace x hands pre would have just like ISO'd me pre-flop. So I think like we have a nut heart advantage here. Very little obviously, but like, you know, just the fact that I led turn and then call river, but he calls with the 10 of hearts, perfectly fine by him. Just it's really annoying actually more than anything. Like, yeah, it's a good call by him, but it's more annoying that like the 3 outer happened, but that's poker. And then like the fact you lose and then you lose again to the same guy. I feel like that's how it always works. So I always joke about, like, just always happens. Here we have kings. Like, this is super nutted. Like, this has to be like queens, kings, and aces. Like, I don't see this guy having many bluffs here at all. Like, maybe the occasional, like, you know, something like ace, what would it be, like ace 5-0 or something. I can't really see too many, like, unless he just has like this thing where he tries to make his hand look strong with those type of holdings, like ace 5, ace 7-0, whatever, ace 8-0. Hands that don't really play very well 3 ways, but could be turned into like some sort of bluff. Anyway, we just have to go with our kings. We're not folding. And sure enough, he has aces. It's funny how these people always make it like very noted that they have a strong hand, like the way that they do things. Like, instead of him just, you know, ripping in here and like me being like, oh, snap call, he has 8s, 9s, 10s, jacks, whatever. I'm just like, Jesus, like, oh, I hope he doesn't have aces. I hope he has queens or kings. Like, it's just, that's so funny how people play that way. And I wonder if they're doing that at the higher stakes too, or if they're balanced with those hands, like I said, like the ace 8-0 and the ace 5-0, whatever. They definitely have more 3-bet bluffs, but anyway, yeah, because if he rips in here, I'm like, if he rips it in, I'm like happily calling with like 10s. When he does this, I'm like, oh my god, should I jam 10s or should I just fold? Like, it's, you know. Probably you could open, not off my stack size anymore. I would say if I had more chips, I probably would have opened. 4s, I'm just mucking under the gun off 22. Here, really strange. I defend. I think I was on like a little bit of tilt, but I actually don't hate it. I would be happy if I saw a 7 or a king come on the turn, or, you know, maybe even a heart that I can continue with. I think I'd rather do this with the king of hearts. Like if I had like king 7 with the king of hearts and then any 7, I think it's better to do it with a king high flush draw blocker than a 7 high flush draw blocker. Because I really only block like ace 7 of hearts when I do that. That you know doesn't continue. If I have the king of hearts, then I block king 10 of hearts, king queen of hearts, king whatever, ace king of hearts, king 9 of hearts, king 8 of hearts if he's opening that. And then, you know, he's going to continue with all those hands on the flop. So it's kind of like a check raise there with that. This is very, very weird and not standard. Here I open 10-7-0. Just got to give it up. He just had like a queen on the river blocker betting, I feel like. Here we get kings. We beat 10s. That was an important pot. Obviously, any all-in is going to be an important pot. Let me see if I played. Okay, so I didn't play that. Didn't play that. This is another weird one I check raised. So I check raise, he calls, turns to 6. I wanted to check raise all in on the turn. Maybe I should have gone a little bit bigger on the flop. So if I go like 5 bigs, then I just have like... So if I go 5 bigs, that's 2.2 more. And so maybe if I go... So I got to go like 5 bigs. If I go 5 bigs, then we have 15 in, and then I have like 15 behind. Or like 17 in. And yeah, something like that. No, 15 in and then 15 behind, yeah. Here I open, get ripped on. It's whatever. I feel like it's fine to just open buttons. There he, I would defend king 3 suited. Can't defend king 3-0. I don't even know if I'd defend king 3 suited, actually. It's 3.4x. Excuse me. I'm still tired from staying up late playing this tournament. Here we get aces. He rips it in. So far, kings and aces. He had king 10-0. His shove's perfectly fine. Jacks. Just rip it in. Jacks again, rip it in. I get called. So it's always kind of like miserable when you get called after they raise off of 16 bigs. Luckily, he was at the very bottom of his calling range. I really don't think he would call 8s here. Like, I almost guarantee you this guy would not call 8s here, but he called 9s, obviously. So we called him, like, you know, in a very good spot. This hand's interesting. So obviously, you know, I ISO pre, very small sizing. That's just what I do with all my hands. I don't like go bigger or anything. I bet the flop, queen 4-6, pretty good for our range. Ace turn, obviously really good. I went back and forth between betting and checking back for like deception. And then also like maybe trying to get some like weak or get some thin value on the river from him. Just like if he has like a 6, maybe he could like justify a call. I think I went too big. I want to go like 2.2 here. Just get him to put it in. But someone else that, you know, I respect their game. They said that they would bet, and then they would bet, and then they would jam the river. So just because you do have bluffs there, you just kind of need to be like balanced, I guess. Here I rip in ace 9-0, or I'm sorry, not ace 9-0. My eyes. I would not rip ace 9-0 here. I was like, what? 42 bigs, ace 9-0? No, ace queen. I rip it in. 3-bet, call it off. perfectly fine, probably better, but we're like final 2-3 tables, so I just played it like a wuss. Here I went back and forth. So I need 37% to call, which if we launch our range equity calculator and we figure out, what hands he's probably jamming here. If I was him, I would assume like, sorry guys, I know it's loud. I would assume I don't have like a ton of fold equity, I guess. I would probably say that most people would go 5s plus here. I don't think they would be jamming like deuces, 3s, 4s, although they play like very similarly. I think like ace 5 suited plus. Yeah, this is probably fine right here. Could see him jamming like king 9 suited, king jack off, and then all of these hands. So I don't have. I mean, it's a break even call for me. So that being said, at this point in the tournament where there's 2 tables left, I kind of just want to like go into like, chip preservation / play more like being the aggressor and not being like the one to call off in these spots, put pressure on other people, So at the time, I thought it was a bad fold at the time, like in terms of like chip EV. But looking at the calculator now, like I kind of see it's not really like that great of a call. If he had like 9 bigs, then I think it is. But 10. If you had like 8 to 9, then it'd be fine. Like anything less than that, we have to call. But I don't open the deuces. I just fold 9-8. Rip in ace jack. Here you can do one of 2 things. You can either raise or you can just rip it in. I think, I have a big enough edge post flop in position where I don't really just want to be like ripping in these hands and get called off and like lose a fourth of my stack. I think most of the time on these boards, people are just going to like, check fold. We got unlucky there. We ISO'd. Some weird hands. So this guy's like chip leader. Yeah, calling's obviously like what we want to do. And then once there comes a spade, you just have to fold. It's really sad. We probably had the best hand going into the river. That 4-5 of hearts just can't get through. Here we bet. He's leading the turn. We just fold. Good flop for us. He's open like 4 hands in a row, I feel like. He rips on us. When I opened this ace jack, I remember thinking, all right, do I call off anybody that, do I call off Matt Stye? Like, I wasn't really thinking about Zugley's jamming. Obviously, you can 3-bet, but it's weird. Like, I don't think he's jamming worse than ace jack here. Like, he might be jamming like ace 10, but if he did jam, give him a range like. I'd give him a range like this, probably. 6s. Probably 5s. Probably give him like these. He'd probably flat these. He'd probably call that. He might jam that. Might jam that too. So I mean, technically, I like even with that wide of a range, like Ace Jack is still just not that great equity wise. So I think we just need to fold if he rips on us. If he's bluffing, he's bluffing. I remember betting and just like thinking, wait, why did I go 2.2? I always go like 1.7 on these boards, 1.6, 1.7. Here, okay, so now we are actually at the final table. So I open under the gun, and Tile King ships all in. We just have to fold. Now we ladder. Jacks, we rip. I'm going to do a video on just the final table and all the ICM spots. So if you guys want to wait and watch that, I mean, we can actually look at it from, you know, an ICMizer point of view. Okay, so here I was going to just flat, and again, this is something we can look at in like ICMizer. God, that's so loud when those things go off. I was gonna see what the ICM was here, but we'll look at the actual program ICMizer. I was gonna just call pre if Beyond Control opened and it folded to me in the big. A hand like King Queen suited is very strong, and to have that in your defend range is, you know, protects the rest of your range. You don't just need to be like ripping it in, even though we're second last in chips and it's a very top heavy tournament. I think at this point I would have been getting like 1,500. Then the next place gets like 1,800, and then, or no, it goes like 1,800 and then like 2,400 or something. Yeah, and then I got second for 55. First was 9,000. So it's a very top heavy field. So we don't need to like be worrying about ICM stuff as much, I feel like. But we'll see that once we run ICMizer. Here's like, it's like a very similar situation where I could flat or I could rip. I decided to go for the rip. Here, ace-8 suited, interesting spot. I could 3-bet to like 8 bigs, but I actually like to fold. This would have been a very tough board to play with 5 ways, so I'm glad I folded. I open, get 3-bet, I just fold. 8-7 of hearts could open it for sure. Decided not to. Just being like where I am in the tournament with my stack versus the 2 other shorter stacks. I get a walk. Lots of respect. Just jamming Queen 10-0 here. Unfortunately, Zuglies has aces when Justice Rolls has queens. That was our nemesis of the tournament from earlier. Sevens, this was an interesting spot. I wonder what my opening range is supposed to be when, you know, Beyond Control and Stupid Jerry both have slightly shorter stacks than me. Sevens is probably an open, like 5, 6s might be closer to a fold. But I think I made a good fold. I mean, just tight folds get rewarded long run. Here he min raises. I just don't view these min raises as that strong blind versus blind. So if I have ace X, or like if I have like a Broadway king or like king 9 suited, something like that, I'm just gonna like rip on them. Here on these boards, I like to go for the delay C bet. If they check, they usually are just folding the turn. King 7-0 could be a raise, but it's probably not ICM wise with the Stupid Jerry the way his stack was. Queen 9 suited, very pretty hand. I like to go just one big because I think it's a spot where he's just gonna like have like a ton of auto folds, so I don't need to bet like huge. And then, you know, he has 4 diamonds. It's fine. Get it through. Ace 10. This is very scary, and I mean, I thought that in my head too. I was like, oh man, but I can't. I mean, I just like snap went with it because I knew like there was a little red flag in my head. Like when someone opens 3.4 right here, it's usually like they're gonna call you off. But at the same time, I was like, no, I have ace 10. I can't just fold ace 10. So we both have ace 10. Probably called him at close to the bottom of his range. 10-6, I open, get jammed on. I would have opened the ace 8 if I hadn't just opened the 10-6 and gotten jammed on, but again, like, people are gonna pick on you when you're 5-handed and you know you're tied for 5th in chips basically. Yeah, rip ace 3. Standard. Just fold the ace 10. I don't know what I would have done. If it had folded to me, I probably would have ripped it in. 5-handed, 18 bigs, being like last in chips. I think it's fine. I think defending's fine. I think ripping in's probably fine too. This guy's opening sizes. Here I rip Jack 10-0. Not really sure about this one. I mean, I am last in chips, so it can't be that big of a disaster either way. Here, this guy gives us a ladder, which is super nice of him. He raises, which is so funny. So his raise sizing out of position is smaller than his raise sizing in position. He raised 3.4 from the button, and then he raises 3 from the small blind versus big blinds with 8-5. It's very interesting. Here he limps. I rip it in. I would have called a rip. If he had ripped it on me, I would have called. Here I'm ripping. Even if Matt's side didn't flat, I would still be ripping, but it's nice to get those extra 2 bigs in there. 7-8 suited I thought was close between an open. 8-9 suited, 9-10 suited. I think you can just rip in there. I have to check, but I know 9-10 suited, Jack 10 suited, you can definitely just rip in there. 8-9 suited, you probably can just rip it in there. Being last in chips. 7-8 suited might be close. So he limps, I ISO, like that's just my strategy, blind versus blind. You know, establish range advantage, because he would like, so like the reason that I do this is because if I do this, you would think he would jam, right? Like his good hands now, and I can just fold. But instead he elects to call, which gives us range advantage, because now we still have all our good hands. He doesn't have all his good hands anymore, unless he's trapping like aces or something. So yeah, I bet. So wait, okay. I played pot control in the flop just because I think I had PTSD from so many bad runouts with 4 flushes. Played pot control. I call turn, then we put check river, and I mean we were just pretty much guaranteed to chop anyway after that flop. So I ISO here again, like if he had ace X, he would have limp jammed this pre-flop. So this flop definitely favors my range. This was the turning point of 4-handed for us. We grinded this whole final table, and then we finally got a stack after this end. So he calls, and we hit a king, and he had pocket 9, so we won the flip, which is huge because we've been losing so many flips lately in these tournaments deep. Yeah, this was a bad run out for me. I went bigger on the turn so I could set up a bigger bet on the river. But then, like, once a queen pairs, I'm just like, he's not just going to give me credit for having trips. So I feel like I can't get him off of an 8 or a 5 in my mind. I mean, it'd be tough. I could maybe get him off a 5. I don't think I can get him off an 8 or a 9. So decided to check. Just give it up. This is a strange hand. So another limp and another ISO. He calls. This hand, obviously, like this stuff, like probably solvers and stuff, like you're not going to be able to figure these things out in there. This is just straight hood poker, and usually I mean I don't get like this unless I've been paying attention a lot to like what an opponent's doing and how they're playing. And I think game flow wise, I just kind of felt this spot. So I bet one big just because Ace King 9 after he like limp calls. I have such a huge range advantage, and I want to be able to barrel the turn and like keep him wide on the flop. So maybe he floats like with just a 9, and then I can bet huge on the turn and maybe jam the right rivers. So he actually elects to check raise to 2.25, which is complete bullshit. Excuse my language, but just straight up, like, he never has anything here. He wouldn't do this with King 9. He wouldn't do this with pocket 9s. He wouldn't do this with Ace 9. He would make it bigger with all of those sizings. So in my mind, he just like has a BS hand, probably most likely maybe a flush draw, maybe just something ridiculous like 8-9 or something, just like seeing where he's at type of situation. Well, I'm going to show him where he's at because I'm going 7.9 big blinds, and he elects to call. Turn was a good card. I like this turn a lot. I bet 7 bigs. I thought about betting 5 so I could have a bigger, I could have 20 bigs on the river to jam. I have like 2/3 pot. Instead, he calls. Now we just get the worst. We get the worst card in the deck. Because if he did have King X instead of like, if he had like a 9X hand, yeah, he'll fold that. Probably on the turn, actually. But if he has King X, he's not folding that on the turn. He might fold it on the river. And I was actually going to jam a clean river here. What I consider a clean river would obviously be like a deuce through 10, no heart. So we have to go check. And he has 6-3 of hearts. I mean, this hand is probably not necessary in terms of like how easy of a tournament this is, or how like how much of a, I don't want to say fish, a recreational player this guy was. He just like sun ran basically. So he was a very, very big recreational player. No good player would ever check raise this sizing on this board after I ISO'd pre. It's just not happening. So anyway, I don't know if it was necessary because we started the hand with 34 bigs and then a clear tied for second. But after the hand, we are clear third now. All right, so Matt. So I just decided to rip. I don't really want to play post flop with 17 bigs when there's this much money on the line up top. I just would rather take it down. Eights again. I would stop ripping at like 22 bigs, I think. All right, so actually we're heads up. Let's see what happened this hand. So this guy got down. I wonder how he got down to so few chips. I didn't even see the hands. All right, so he raised, he 3-bet. Okay. All right. So he just hasn't won a hand in a while. He bets, he jams, he calls, he has aces, he has a straight draw that misses. We are now heads up for the title. All right. Here, I just totally botched this hand. I hated myself. I got very, very greedy. Very greedy. I should have just gone, like, 1 big blind's good here. I should have gone, like, 2 big blinds on the turn, and then there would have been 10 in there. I would have had, so there would have been 10 in there, and I would have had 14, and then go, like, 4 or 5 on the river and just try to get, max. Because we have such a long grind if we're going to beat this guy heads up. Here we ISO, establish range advantage, C-bet, he folds. Just limp fold the deuce 3, call king 8. I didn't really, I don't know. I mean, I didn't love this play, but at the same time, there are so many bad rivers for us. I just decided to just rip, and if he calls with a queen, then that's good. So we're making a little dent in them. This was a annoying hand. So then he raises. Obviously, I have an open ender. I call. So I'm getting I'm technically like, let's just see if. So if he has, I mean, let's just say he has like the best hand he could possibly have here. So he's giving me like direct odds to make this call with just an open ender, basically, and then with the implied odds of like, you know, the 18 big blinds left behind, it's too good. I can't fold. He rips it in and we fold. But he actually never has like tens. That was just an example of like the worst case scenario we're up against. But actually, everything's the same if you think about it, I guess we should say. The only thing that would be like really bad for us is if he had like 10-9 or like 10-4 or something that blocks us from hitting a straight draw. That would be the worst case scenario. Here we defend Queen 4. Now we just have a clear, you know, check jam. We're going to have like lots of bluffs here. We're going to probably be check jamming a 9. And wow, what a run out. So that was to get us back to have, that would have gotten us back to 31 bigs. And from that point, I mean, you saw before the 8-5 hand, we were just like kind of grinding the guy down a little bit, slowly at a time. I mean, it would have been very hard for us to come back and win the tournament. But, at the same time, it's definitely possible if I win this hand here to just like slowly grind him down. I was also taking my time a lot during the heads up because I feel like there's like this mental thing where if you have the chip lead, like that huge of a chip lead, and it takes forever to beat somebody, you start to get like a little bit anxious and like you're like, oh my god, when am I going to win already? Whatever. So I was like using my time bank a little bit for decisions that like weren't really decisions, things like that, trying to just draw it out a little bit to make it last longer because I felt like I had lots of energy and I was like ready to keep grinding, and playing small pots, limping, ISOing his limps and then just taking it down with C bets. I'm confident that a good percent of the time if I hold this, maybe like 30 to 40% of the time I come back and I beat him. Here I just have zero chance when the river comes a king. So that's that, and I appreciate you guys watching. I will do another video actually on those ICM spots, seeing if the ace jack of diamonds was actually a jam, the king jack of clubs, the king queen of clubs, those hands there. It's better to actually run those in a program rather than just like guess in your head, okay, this feels like a good spot. Maybe like my sevens fold, like stuff like that we can talk about in a later video. But for this video here, I'd appreciate if you just left your comments in the comment section below. And you guys kind of just let me know your thoughts on some of those hands. Kind of like Afa did last time in the last video I did. Thanks guys for watching. And if you're not a subscriber, please go ahead and subscribe to this channel. There's also a link to my Twitch. This whole tournament was on Twitch the whole time I was doing it, from basically actually start to finish. This tournament, I was live streaming it and playing at the same time. So everyone who was in the live stream got to chat with me, in the chat box while I was playing, and we just had a good time. So if you guys could follow that Twitch channel, subscribe to this channel, and just leave a comment and say what's up, really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.